Hello everyone. Chapter 4, Reviewing the Literature. One of my favorite chapters, but obviously probably one of the more difficult ones for a lot of graduate students, as many are quote-unquote terrorized by the literature. So the review of the literature, where do you start? Well, generally all research topics, I believe, should start with a literature review, particularly if you're a novice researcher trying to really understand a topic. You have to sort of read before you truly understand and know what it is that you're going to be researching. And so I have all students usually start with a lit review. For this class, since it's a methods course, we won't actually be doing a lit review, but we will be doing annotated bibliographies, which are the basic building blocks of lit reviews. Usually senior scholars don't start at the lit review. We usually start at, we usually do the lit review last, because generally we know all of the authors in that lit review. Generally we know the topics pretty well, and so there's no real need to really look at the lit review because we understand it and know it. But there's many different things that you look for in a lit review. These are all sort of in the order of hierarchy from highest prestige to lowest prestige, for the most part. So prestige, high, prestige low here. Okay. So the research article, the empirical research article, is the highest level of prestige. That is vetted tremendously by editorial boards, scholars with something called the double-blind review. They don't know who you are, you don't know who they are, and they're looking at it for strictly the merit of the research. Then you have books. A lot of books, if you have academic presses like University of California Press, may have a higher level of prestige than a book that is vintage books or something like that doesn't have that level of scrutiny and lit review. Book chapters as well come next after that, because generally you're just writing a chapter. Sometimes you're invited by a friend or a colleague who knows you're in the area. You don't have to compete. There's no double-blind review involved. Then there's monographs. Generally you get paid sometimes to write these monographs. Academic websites. You can create your own website. And journals that are not research journals. There's quite a bit of those as well. Abstracts, and then reports at the very end. So finding a keyword, I'm going to do an example in another video that follows this on how, if I was doing a research topic, how I would go about it. But this is sort of the keywords are the key. Keywords, finding a topic, finding the keywords, understanding what the keywords are. The more you read, once again, the more you look at their keywords, the terminology that is being used, and you know how to use that same terminology, right? So I gave an example here where you could say dropout, but really in academic terminology, we use the word attrition, right? So you could use the word dropout. You might get some hits on articles that try to sensationalize the research, but really the academic term is going to be attrition. The more you review the literature, the more keywords you're going to find. It's a web. All of these key terms eventually connect to one another, creating a web of all the key terms, and there lies knowledge right in the middle with all the connections. Okay. The library is obviously the best place to start, not actually physically going to the library. I can't tell you the last time I went to the library that wasn't to go to a meeting or to go to Starbucks. I don't really go to the library to read books like I did when I started as a Cal State student over 20 years ago. I had to go and pull the little cards, turn them in, and go, and they would give me my books, and that's how we checked out books 20 years ago. Not anymore. And I doubt any students even go to the library. Everything's digitized. It's online. If you want a book, you go through Amazon and it's digital, or they'll send you a copy in a day or two. If you have Amazon Prime, probably. If not, you have to wait a little bit longer. But all the journals are online now. The ERIC database, obviously, is another really good one. This is the largest digital library of educational literature in the world, and here's the website there for you. Education Index, PsycInfo, dissertation abstracts. I'll show you how to do that. Dissertations are the best way to find lit reviews that are already written. Okay, and then Google Scholar, which I'll also give you an example of that as well. EndNote, I'm not really sure if this is the address anymore. I'm sorry I didn't check, but if you go to, just any web browser and type the words, Fresno State EndNote, it should take you to the software, and it's freeware. You could download it. I believe students get a free copy. You can download it, and it's a way to really truly take your writing to the next level in terms of the organization of your references and your bibliography. Thank you very much. Oh, it's not over. I'm sorry. Evaluating your resources. What is a good resource? We talked about journals as being at the top of the hierarchy in terms of prestige. Journal name and quality matter as well. Generally, a journal has a name, it has a year. At the very end, after the title, you're going to have a volume and an issue. Okay? A volume and an issue. This may be volume 4, issue 4. The volume's always in the front, and the issue's always after that. Okay? The higher the volume only comes around once a year. So this means this journal has been around for 4 years, and this is a 4, so it may be printed either quarterly or monthly, but it's the 4th issue for that year. The bigger this number, the more the journal has been around, the higher the quality. Age matters in academia. Okay, book publishers matters, as I said, right? Getting University of California Press, those type of things, academic publishers. There's quite a vetting that goes on to get those books published in those venues. 10 years is too old for most publications unless it's sort of key foundational research. So generally we try to find research. So 2019, take you all the way down to maybe 2010. So you have 9 years, give or take, is really what you're looking for, literature that is within that age range. And sample size matter, particularly more in quantitative than qualitative. So 500, 1,000, 10,000, 20,000. The larger the N on the quantitative, the higher degree of validity that's going to have. On the qualitative, it doesn't really matter as long as it's a well-structured study and you're going into really sort of heavy deepness into that study. That's going to be enough to really, it could be an N of 1 if you have a single subject research study. Okay. So we're going to do also an activity here where you're going to be analyzing, organizing, and reporting on the literature. This is a good annotated bibliography. This is a good sort of outline for one of your main assignments for the class, which is an annotated bibliography. These are the 8 components that you're required to have in any annotated bibliography. 1 page or less. Okay? 1 page or less. Do not go over 1 page. This is going to be an exercise in really trying to sort of narrow things down. Complete APA citation at the top. I want to know that you know how to use APA and write a citation on APA, what keywords you used, what your topic is, and remember, this should be thematic, so the topic is going to be pretty much the same across all of these. When you do your actual assignment, for this assignment and part of your quiz, it's going to require you to submit just one. What is the purpose of the study? What is the research question or research questions? It could be one or more. What methods are used? Was it qualitative or quantitative? And how many participants? Who are the participants? Findings, what did they find? They found maybe A, B, and C. Okay. And what are the recommendations? This could be 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Or A, B, and C, whichever you prefer.